What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Michael Dade. Welcome to the Michael Dade Project. Long time no see. Hopefully you're all doing well, and welcome to another live stream. So today, I want to focus mainly on this program called G.A.T.E. Now, some of you may have heard it. Some of you may have seen it on YouTube, TikTok, I don't know, X, whatever it may be. But I wanted to talk about it because this is something that I personally went through as a kid. I was in this program. I don't know how many people were in the program. I don't really know much about it, honestly. Just within the last week did I even find out about it. So I want to talk about it and just see kind of who else went through this, what the similarities are, and talk about how this affected us. You know, I also want to talk about, what the reasoning behind it could have been. There's many reasons, and I don't want to get like too speculative or like too conspiracy minded, because I think that there is a pretty logical explanation for it. As most of you guys know, I have, let's see, by now I have been researching these individuals, and exposing these people for seriously about 15 years. I've been looking into it, making random posts for longer than that. But after what happened to me in Hollywood, was when I really, really started honing in on what was actually happening. And, I've mentioned it before that, 9/11 was what woke me up. And I was only 20 years old when 9/11 happened, so that tells you anything. I'm 42 now. So I've been looking into this stuff for going on 20 plus years. But I didn't start really dedicating my time, energy, and effort into exposing these people and researching these people until after what happened to me in Hollywood. And then I went really, really hard after the whole G.A.T.E thing. So I think I was like maybe 28 or 29 28, I think, when I went out to Hollywood, with these people and the agents. They tried to sign me and they took me to these parties, and, it was very weird. That's all I could say, because it was just an entry level party. It wasn't like a Diddy party where you have to be a celebrity to know somebody to get in, to know somebody to let you in, and this and that. This was a party that was full of nobodies. It was like important people there, but it wasn't that. It wasn't a Diddy party. But nonetheless, it was really, really weird. There were young kids all over the place, like not kids, but teenagers that were underage. There was a lot of drugs. There was a lot of drinking, like a lot of, I don't know. It was just really odd, like whenever you go into a situation where your instincts and like your intuition just tells you that something is off about the situation. That's what this was. And, it also had conversation with the people that took me there. It was really weird. And it was like pretty clear to me that they were trying to see how compromised I was, so to speak. They wanted to see how far I would go before I said no. And it didn't take me long. I was planning on going out to Hollywood to live. And, I had even put down a deposit on a room that I was going to live in. It was a room with like 6 or 7 other people. That's all that I could afford. But, at the time, I had already worked 10 years in the entertainment business and 2 SAG credits. all of the stuff that I did with music and having my stuff on the radio. And like, this took a long time, and it became apparent that what I needed to do was go out to Hollywood, and or if I wanted to make it, so that's what I did. Long story short, I came back, and that's when I started speaking out about what happened to me, and I was blacklisted. The features that I had, the interviews, all this stuff that I had lined up with these people in the magazines and this and that. The agents, stopped talking to me. Uh, they didn't respond to me or anything like that because I was going out there talking about what I saw there and how it was weird. So that's really whenever I started looking into this stuff. And the reason that I bring that up is because I want people to know what my background is looking into this program G.A.T.E. You kind of have to know me, how my mind works, what I've went through to understand how this program G.A.T.E. could have possibly affected me personally. I can't speak for anybody else. I haven't talked to anybody about this. One lady that I spoke to, I commented on her page. She had an interesting video. I don't forget her name, but she's the only person that I've talked to about it. And it wasn't in depth. It was just kind of like in passing, just, yada, yada. But you really have to kind of understand what I've went through as a person to correlate it with this program G.A.T.E. That all of these children, are now suddenly remembering all of these things about. Because the one of the most odd things about it is the fact that no one can remember it. Like I had zero recollection of this program as a kid until, like I said, I started seeing all of the flashcards, all of the headphones, the noises, and the hearing test, and all that stuff. I didn't remember it at all. I had no idea about it. And I saw that, and it was like, boom, instantly it triggered something in my mind that made me remember this stuff as soon as I saw it. And it's like, that in itself is so odd. How can all of these kids that went through this program completely forget about it? Granted, most of them it happened in elementary school, up into junior high school, some into high school, I think. But it was only in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and then it fizzled out, this program. They stopped doing it for whatever reason. Now, if you aren't familiar with what this program is, it's called G.A.T.E., the Gifted and Talented Education Program. And so what they would do is they would have these people come in, and they would take certain kids out of the room, take them to a different room. It could have been by themselves. It could have been with just a handful of other kids. And then they would give them these tests. Like one of them was a hearing test. They had these specific flashcards that you had to I think you had to guess. Like they would hold it up, and then you would have to guess what's on the back of it. Like how are you supposed to know that? Why would they be testing people to see if they could read the back of a card that they couldn't see, knowing that most people can't do that? And they did it to these people as children. So that's very odd, and I want people to realize that. Yeah, testing intuition. And you know what? I've said, I don't know how long you've been following me, Vintage Rebel, but I've been saying since day one that I've had a very, very, very strong sense of intuition, since I was young. I mean, to where it's never failed me unless I didn't listen to it. So that makes sense, but that's what this program was, and then they would take these kids into these rooms, give them these little tests or whatever, and then they would give you this little drink. It always came in like either a plastic small cup or a little paper small cup. And it was this pink liquid, that they called Swish. Now, looking into it, and the official story was that it was fluoride. So we all know what fluoride does, but why would they be giving this stuff to kids at school? You know, and why would they be giving it to only specific kids at school? Not every kid. No, they didn't give it to all kids. They only gave it to these specific kids in this program. And that's one of the most odd things to me. You know, that and the whole thing with the memory. How nobody seemed to remember it until recently people started posting the pictures and talking about it, and then it triggered, you know. And that's not just me that's happened to. I've been researching it for a week solid, like real hard, trying to figure this stuff out, because uh it's kind of weird. And it's not just me that got their memories triggered by these seeing these things. It seems like almost all of the kids that were in it didn't remember it. Now there's a select few that did, and they've talked about it, but most of them, myself included, no idea until I saw this stuff. So there's all kind, and like I said, I don't want to get like really speculative on it. You know, I don't want to do that, because not only can it confuse people, but we don't want, I want to figure out the real meaning behind it, not what I just think it is. I want to know what actually happened. Let me read some of these things real quick. Oh, 1921. Oh, okay. Um, yeah, pineal gland. Yeah. So I started thinking about it, and you know, another reason why I brought in my background about what I've done is because of how much I've exposed these people, and how what I genuinely think that this program was, how it affects all of those people that I've been exposing. And like, this is totally not a fact. You know, this is my opinion on why, like, thinking logically about it. It's only my opinion on why I think that these people would do it, you know? And really, you have to understand the background of these diabolical individuals that have been ruling the world for as long as we've been alive. All of us have been alive. So you have to understand that, you know, to understand my opinion of it, because we see what these people do now. We see how they act. We see what they've done. We see how diabolically evil they are, and what extent they will go to in order to implement this outlandish, insane, diabolical agenda that they've been pushing for centuries. This cost them probably trillions of dollars over the course of centuries, since they've been trying to start this New World Order and implement this system into our country and the world. So we know that they have no sense of shame, no morality, and they don't care who they hurt. They don't care anything about anyone or anything except for implementing this agenda, which we know is Luciferian. Period. I don't care what you say, what political party you align with, none of that shit. I don't give a flying fuck about any of that. What these people are doing is Luciferian at its core. And they will stop at nothing to rid the world of Yeshua and his followers. They want this place looking like the underworld. That's what they want, because that's what they praise. You need to understand that. So, in understanding that, what I think this would be, if I were just looking at it, taking a step back, with a wider lens, and knowing what I've been through, how these people operate, all the research that I've done on these people, what I would say that this was their way of weeding out people that were leaders, that were real leaders, not people that were followers. Because people that are followers are very, very, very easy to manipulate. So my thought is this: if they're sitting around their round table and they're saying, okay, how can we implement this agenda without anybody questioning us? They knew that they had to get rid of critically thinking individuals. They would have never, ever, ever been able to pull this off for as long as they have if everyone thought critically, period. And that's the reason that they stopped teaching it in schools. That's the reason why all of these people are so brainwashed, because they don't critically think and they blindly trust these people that they call their leaders. Now, that being said, what a better way to weed out the people that they felt could destroy their plan? The people that questioned authority, the people that saw these patterns, the people that thought critically of what they were of what they were doing. What better way to weed those people out than to roll out a government-funded program across the whole country, saying that they were going to test your children because they thought they were gifted or special. If they said, we're going to do experiments on your children for telepathy and for seeing the future and for intuition, our parents would have told them to shove it. But instead, they told them it was because we were special. And every parent wants their children to be special. Now, I don't even know if they told the parents that this was happening. This was a long time ago, so I have no idea if they even told the parents that this was happening. But if they had to tell the parents, that would be the way to go about doing it. Make them think that they were doing all of this testing on gifted children because they're special. And the parents would be like, oh, sure. Yeah, you want to move them up a grade, this and that, yada, yada. And sign them up. So what better way to weed those people out? And then on top of that, what you do, if you're these diabolical inverting ass motherfuckers, you promote all of the children that are followers, because you know that they're easy to manipulate and that you can control them. So those are the people they promote. Those are the people that they hired. Those are the people that they brought on into the CIA, into politics, and all their other bullshit. Why? Because they knew that they could control them via this program when they were children. What did they do to the individuals that they knew would question them, that they knew would see the patterns in their diabolical agenda, the ones that critically thought? Traumatize them, put them on psych meds as children, which is what happened to me. And I asked my parents, I said, do you remember who it was that told you that I needed to go on Ritalin whenever I was a child? Do you remember if it was a school nurse or a school doctor from my elementary school where I went through this program? They did not remember, unfortunately. But if I had to guess, me having to go to school 5 days a week, the teachers are the ones that's going to know what kind of person I am. And I would be willing to bet everything that I have in this world that it was a school nurse or a school doctor that recommended to my parents when I was a child in this school that I go on this program and go on Ritalin. I would almost bet you everything in my world that I own, which is not much because I live in poverty. But to me, I mean, I'm getting chills thinking about this because that is the only thing that I can, that's the only way that I could make sense of this. They didn't do it so they, for, to find, oh, we need spies or we need, this and that, this and that. I mean, sure, some of those people may have went on to work in those fields, but they weren't recruiting children. You know what I mean? Like, so that's far fetched to me. So did they keep tabs on the kids, the CIA, as they grew up? Possibly, but just think about that. And this is like, if anybody, have any of you guys ever seen the movie The Manchurian Candidate? Excuse me, with Denzel Washington and Liv Schreiber. Because if you've seen this movie, that's exactly what I feel like all of the kids that they promoted, the ones that they knew were followers, the ones they knew they could manipulate, that's what they've done with these people. Why do you think that all of these liberals and these Democrats are so freaking brainwashed? Sure, I mean, there's indoctrination, and then there's the next level of what these people are. You do not get to that level of radicalism and just plain insanity on how these people are acting by just a little bit of propaganda now and then. No way. They were groomed. And if I had to guess, they were groomed since they were kids and in this program. I'm telling you, I would bet you anything that's what they've done. Just think about how crazy that is, man. But when you really think about it, if you know who these individuals are, it's not crazy at all. I mean, that's like normal for these people, honestly. Look, I mean, they went out and dropped a freaking deadly virus amongst all of our whole country, the whole world, and literally murdered people, probably tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people, all for this same agenda. So you really don't think that they would do this program in elementary school if they knew at the core, when they all sat down and they said, we need to figure this out for a long plan, the 40, 50, 60-year plan of how we can really do this. They would know that they would have to take a whole generation of kids and somehow stop them from critically thinking. That's just my opinion, because myself, as someone who critically thinks, and I've always done it, and with my intuition being as strong as it is, just imagine if we had hundreds of thousands or millions of other people like that watching their agenda unfold as they do it. It would have never made it this far. No way. It would have never, ever made it this far. The only way that it has is because people have been dumbed down, brainwashed, and none of them critically think anymore. So, for me, that is what happened. And I bet you that if you start looking into these politicians and people that they have out there now that they are promoting, that don't care at all about anything. They'll sit there, lie to you right to your face. They'll laugh at you, mock you, spread propaganda like it's their job. They don't care. They don't care. These people are bad people. But I guarantee you this. Had they not done something like that, they never would have even been able to begin to start this agenda. Excuse me. They never would have. They had to know who was weak-minded enough that they could manipulate them as they grew older. You don't just grow out of that, folks. You know, intuition is something that God gives us. Discernment is something that comes from God. And you can't change that. You can't grow into it. You can't grow out of it. That's a part of you. And if you don't think that these people knew that in the CIA after they've done MK Ultra experiments on children, on adults, on American citizens for decades and decades, then there's something wrong with your head. I mean, you know, it's so for me, all of the other conspiracy theories and the wild stuff, the speculation and stuff, like that's out the door for me. This is what happened, in my opinion. And no one is going to be able to change my mind about that. Now, will we ever know truly? Who knows? I did contact Donald Trump and I did contact Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and those people. I did contact them and ask them to release or declassify anything that was within the CIA or anything, any documents about this program. Because that's the only way that we're going to truly know what their purpose was behind it. Now, I think that I already know because, in my opinion, I've went through scenario after scenario after scenario after scenario. And this is the only one that makes sense. And I'm going to go with my intuition on that, you know, which they probably won't like. But you know what? Fuck them, dude. That's it. After everything that I've been through because of these people, I've lost my job. I've lost my business. I've lost my memories. I've lost my clients. I've lost my accounts. I've lost everything because of this, exposing these people. You know? So I'm going to go out and I'm going to start trying to collect data. I want to try to collect data and start making connections between other people and myself. You know, was it all ADD kids? Because as you guys know, I'm ADD. Does that make our brains work differently? Were they trying to single the ADD kids out for this and then give them the psych meds so that that changes the way their mind works? So that those kids would not be able to critically think and expose their agenda? Tell me this does not make sense to you guys, man. Because this I'm starting to get pissed off now. So, yeah, they called you bipolar. Yeah, exactly. So I'm thinking that has to be something to do with it. Because I believe that the other girl that I talked to, like I said, I haven't talked to many people, but I believe that she is also ADD. And there could be some sort of correlation with intuition, critically thinking, a connection to a higher power that we have that other people don't have. I don't know that, but I'm saying that I'm going to start trying to collect data and cross-reference these people's experience and see how many of these people have similarities. You know, I don't know how in the world I would go about doing that because I'm shadow banned on every fucking platform that there is. Even X is shadow banned me. They call it labels, but even X is shadow banning me. And that is so strange, dude. These are supposed to be the good guys. Why would they shadow ban another good guy? So I don't know how I'm going to get this information out to people because nobody shares any of my stuff anymore. And I'm guessing that that's because they're not seeing it because I'm shadow banned for whatever reason. But you know, this to me, it makes sense, you know, and sometimes the most logical answer is the correct answer. Not all the time. especially in this crazy world. And we know how they hide things and, mask things and all that other shit. But sometimes the most, the easiest answer to guess or the most logical is the right answer. So I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty crazy for me. I just, this is pretty crazy, pretty crazy, and I don't really know what to think about it. Because like, what can we do at this point? You know, uh, at this point, it doesn't really matter because now they don't even care about hiding their agenda. They're open about it now. But back then, it was, everything had to be a secret. Otherwise, they would have never made it this far. You know what I mean? So, and if they had a whole generation of kids growing up, watching their every move, that was critically thinking and using their intuition and discernment to pay attention to these patterns of what they were doing, they never would have been able to get this far with it. Period. I mean, that's just a fact, folks. Look at how quick, just since President Trump has came out and all of us, independent journalists or anons, whatever you want to call it, digital soldiers, whatever, just look at how quick since we started exposing them that they're falling. I mean, 10 years it's been since Trump's been in office, basically, since he first got elected. So it's taken 10 years. Now, had they done this back then without doing what they did to the critical thinking kids, it never would have made it this far. So if you think about that, they had to do that. They had to get rid of or change the way the mind works of critical thinkers. And that, folks, is what I think that these people have done with the GATE program. I hope and pray that one day there will be clarity, discernment, and I hope that we'll get answers. I mean, it's not like that it was damaging or anything to us. I mean, I stopped taking Ritalin before I was even in middle school, excuse me, because I didn't like it. They gave it to me for I don't even know how long, but I stopped taking it because I did not like the way that it made me feel. And I haven't taken anything since then. My mind races like crazy, and that's because I'm ADD, ADHD, whatever you want to call it. But I bet you that's what they were doing. I really do. Because like I said, they knew that they had to get rid of critical thinking. And that's the exact same reason why they stopped teaching it in school, guys. They used to have critical thinking classes in schools, all the way up into high school, all the way up into college. They had critical thinking classes, and then they just stopped, you know? So I don't know. We'll see. This other girl, she's done a lot more research than I have, and she's saying that she finds that there was two groups of people with all of the research, and she's got way more followers than I have, that all the people she's talked to, she's saying that you can lump the two groups of people, or you can lump all of the kids that were in the GATE program into two groups. One of them are ones that went on to be successful. The other one are the ones that went on to have problems in life, addiction, and their life was hard. So I'm telling you, when they started giving those kids psych medicine, if that's what they did, you know what I mean? They did it to me. So that's all I know. I don't know about other people, but it happened to me shortly after in middle school or in elementary school is when I started taking that drug. And I swear, I bet you it was because of a recommendation from a school nurse or a school doctor, which is just diabolical, dude. But what if it, what if that drug or that liquid they made you drink, what if that did something to these kids' brains that made them go off? And remember, these are the ones that they knew would see through their plan, the ones that critically think, the ones that use intuition and discernment. So, what if that liquid did mess up their brain? What if all of the kids that they knew they could see through their plan were put on psych meds of some sort back then, or something of the sort like that? If we can find that out, then we will have definitive proof that what I am saying right now is 100% fact. And I'm getting it in my, all up in my gut right now, that that's what happened. That's why they did it. And when you see the fact that they only use these specific people that are within their little clique of people in every position, every major thing that they want to control, what if they used those very kids that they promoted, that they knew that were followers back then? What if that's them and they know they can control them because of this testing that they did on them when they were a child in the GATE program? So I'm just saying, folks, show me another legitimate reason why they would do this without being crazily conspiracy minded. Like something that, I've pleaded my case here. I've given you guys every reason why I think that the outcome of it, what's came, you know. So what do you guys think? So, if I think we should all of us that went through that, and not even just the people that went through it, but everyone should collectively come together and try to figure out some similarities between all of us people that remember going through this program. And I bet you that once we start getting a lot of that data back, I bet you we will see those similarities. I bet you being ADD, ADHD will be one of them. And I bet you that everyone we talk to will also have a very strong sense of intuition, which, by the way, can only be given to us by God, no one else. You cannot inject intuition into people. You don't grow into being intuitive. It's not the way it works. If you're intuitive, you're intuitive. you know, if you're easy to manipulate and weak minded, then you're easy to manipulate and weak minded. And you will continue to be as such as you grow old. So once we all start to collectively get this data, I bet you we're going to start seeing these similarities between all of us that went through that program. And if we can do that, then we need to make as much freaking noise as we possibly can about it. Period. Because if we can prove this, that these people did this for this reason, can you imagine how many people would wake up and just despise these individuals? I mean, I think it would be a freaking, just a bombshell if we could. So, I'll read some of these now. Yeah, well, I can't get rid of gang stalkers, That's out of my hands. It's out of anybody's hands. I mean, there's diabolical individuals that have labeled you in your accounts and they target you from the shadows. Like, what are you going to do? You can't do anything. There's no way around it, you know? So, yeah, well, unfortunately, you know, and this is another thing that pisses me off is you all know this followed me since day one, the stuff that I have been through, losing all of that stuff, my accounts, my business, all of my personal memories from my accounts, all of my clients, my work that I've spent 20 years posting on these sites, gone in the blink of an eye. So I've reached out to Trump. I've reached out to all of these people, and I haven't gotten even as much as a fucking like back from them. So I don't know what's going on with that, you know. Maybe they're just trying to keep their circle tight, but at the same time, I see them out there promoting all these other individuals constantly, you know, and it just like it hurts my feelings, first of all, but second of all, is like people like me and people that came before me and hundreds of thousands of other people, we exposed this shit long before Donald Trump came along, long before fucking Elon Musk came along. And these people are out here in the public taking credit for it without giving us anything at all. Not even a fucking thank you, man. So when you say that, yeah, the FBI can get rid of people that shadow ban you, but they won't even freaking contact me back. I cannot get the quote unquote good guys to help me at all for what I've been through, man. And that is very highly suspicious of to me. But, you know, I'm not going to judge that. It is what it is. But man, I sure do tell you, it would give me a great boost of confidence if I knew that the people that I support appreciated what the fuck I went through and what I sacrificed to expose these people because it was right. So I apologize. I'm getting angry and like emotional now because that triggered something in me that really pisses me off that I cannot get these people that are supposed to be on my side to contact me or help me at all, tell my story, to help me indemnify myself somehow for what I've lost. I'm working 2 jobs now, living in poverty because these people took my fucking business. They took everything that I fucking worked for. So I don't know that that's gonna do it. You know, contacting the FBI to get rid of them, I might just be screwed. But we need to figure out a way to do it though, because this is a bombshell to be able to prove. I mean, this is like proving that MK Ultra happened. You know, like when all these people said that it was not going on, it was a conspiracy, this and that, and then they dropped the paperwork that was declassified, and now everybody saw it. I mean, that was a bombshell. This would be the same, you know. And I just, especially whenever they were doing it to children, you know, I just that right there is just next level diabolical bullshit. So, if you guys can think of a way to help me get this stuff out there, like I said, I can't do it posting it on my sites. You know, I don't know if you guys post it on your sites, if they're going to remove it or if they will shadow ban you. You know, I don't know. But I know that ever since my accounts got taken and I was shadow banned and labeled with that by these people, ever since then, since I've came back onto the scene, none of my posts are going viral. Nobody's sharing anything. They barely get any views, and that's been happening for 2 years now since I've been back, so to speak. Year and a half, 2 years. So I hope that you guys can all figure out a way to get this stuff out there. You know, to see if we can get this data and put together these similarities between all of the kids that were in this program, because I do think that it's important. But, you know, other than that, that's really all that I had, guys. And I hope that you all found this informative. I hope that we all made some connections and will continue to make connections, especially amongst all of us that went through this program. You know, whether we know it or not now, I think that what they did traumatized us, be it giving the medicine and it messed our brains up at the time when we were young and still it was developing, or, if it triggered addiction in some people, because like I said, the other girl said that there seems to be two groups: people that went on to succeed, and then people that went on to have addiction problems and hard lives. And like I said, if I were them and I was a Luciferian diabolical piece of shit that had no conscience, no soul, and 8 children, then I would probably do this to children so I could figure out a way to implement my new world order. God bless you guys. I hope you guys appreciate this video. I'll try to do more, but I'm doing all I can right now. So God bless.